Welcome back, everybody, to another emergency edition of OA News. Jordan Hill with Justin Lee. Justin, let's go ahead and mention it off the top. We're here because Austin Davis, no longer offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach of the Auburn Tigers. There were reports on Sunday night indicating that Davis would intend to resign. That happened earlier today. We're recording at 10:50 a.m. It came from Auburn. Auburn officially confirmed he had resigned probably about 20 minutes ago at this point. Justin, what's your immediate reaction? The fact that Austin Davis is out 43 days after he was officially hired, did some recruiting, but never coached a practice. We never had a chance to talk to him in his position. Just what's your immediate reaction to the news?
Well, it was a waste of time. It was 43 wasted days for Auburn. And I mean, who does it really affect? I mean, who does it really? It affects Zach Calzada and it affects Robbie Ashford, two quarterbacks that Auburn brought in. Last night they were posting, to their dismay, vaguely with emojis, that the guy they had come in to be coached with, the guys that he had liked. But I mean, here, if you're Auburn, you wasted 43 days on this, and you spent you signed two quarterbacks for this guy, and he's not going to come. So, waste of time. And now, I mean, it's I think about it like it's now the story's half done, right? The story is it depends on what goes forward with the offensive coordinator. Last time Derek Mason left, Brian just promoted one of his guys, Jeff Schmedding. And now it's like, does he just promote Eric Keesaw, or does he cry for help and say, hey, I need help, and say, hey, athletic department, hey, supporters, I need money. We're going to go hire the best, brightest. We're going to spend over $1 million on a new coordinator. Which way does he go, right? Which way does he go? And, he'll either double down on himself again, or try to go after new. But yeah, man, what are your immediate reactions? I mean, that's basically all I got is that, I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. It was a mistake and a waste of time. You shouldn't have hired someone who was this flight risk. You shouldn't have done it. You should have picked somebody else.
Yeah, I don't think, to the point you just made, this should have been something that was on the periphery. Like I get the, and Austin said it was personal reasons. We don't know what's going on there. You can't say from the outside. Who knows? Even though it's hard to say what the situation there was. But when's the last time Auburn football under Brian Harsin had any sense of a win? Maybe DJ James from Oregon coming over, a pretty good cornerback. I mean, it's just been hit after hit, and I'm really interested. We've talked about this off the podcast. What is Wednesday, National Signing Day? Don't forget, guys, National Signing Day is this week. What is this going to look like for Auburn? And I know, this is essentially the late signing period. They signed, we never expected them to say, come in and sign 15 guys this week. That's not what the expectation was. But if you have a very poor National Signing Day, say you don't add anybody, which is, I think, based on what we've heard, a real legitimate, that could happen. They don't add anybody. What is the trajectory of this program? What are we doing where you run into a situation where you hired a young quarterbacks coach, and he's offensive coordinator in, in name, but it probably was going to be Brian Harsin calling the plays. Plenty to be excited about, but no college experience. After that, your defensive coordinator leaves. Initially, he tells everybody within the program, I'm stepping away. I need a break. No, you just need a break from Auburn. You took the same job at Oklahoma State.
Which is what Austin said today.
Yes, and who knows if that's going to happen. But it's just been blow after blow, and this just looks bad. This is a very bad situation. Doesn't mean they can't fix it. It just is a rough situation. They need to handle this right. In my head, I really think what's going to happen is they're going to promote Eric Keesaw. He was the offensive coordinator at Boise, but maybe they decide to open back up a national search, which is what they said, is that a national search will begin. But does that end with someone who's already in the complex as the offensive coordinator? It's not unheard of for coaches at this point to leave after signing day. It's not like, oh, well, we're totally out of options, but it is going to make it more difficult. It's going to make it a lot harder than it was trying to hire a guy in December. So yeah, I think it's rough. I don't think you can spin this in a good way. I hope everything's good with Austin Davis on his front, whatever happens with him. But I think this is just another kick in the pants for an Auburn program that could really use a win. And I don't know when the next win is going to present itself.
Ultimately, we're barreling toward a 2022 where it's all on Brian, and he'll have no one else to blame, and he'll have no scapegoat, and no one. I mean, hardly anyone in his corner if he hasn't asked for help. I mean, what? There are two ways to go about it, man. And you think when Nick Saban hired Lane Kiffin, do you think he was like, "Oh, you're gonna come in here and do things my way"? Hell no. He hired Lane Kiffin to come run the spread. He said, "I'm Nick Saban. I don't know how to do this. I'm a defensive coach. Help. I need help." Right? So now here's another impasse for Brian where he can say, "I need help. Somebody come help me." Or he can say, "We're going to do things our way. We're going to take the stairs. We're going to do all that stuff." But the thing is, man, I'm just warning him, warning you, warning everybody. If you do that, if you keep doubling down on yourself and you say, "I'm the answer, I'm the only answer," then no one's going to be there for you if you have 2 straight losing seasons. And my prediction is if Auburn has a losing season, I think he's fired. But now, will that happen? I don't know. But because he hasn't conceded anything to anyone else, he hasn't opened up, and I know a lot of Auburn people wanted this because they see it work for Nick Saban, where Nick Saban is a god and gets to do whatever he wants, and everyone bends the knee to him, right? They wanted that here, right? But if it doesn't work out, you end up on, a short leash or no leash. Like that's it, I think about, there was always a time. This is going to be a rant or a ramble, but with Gus, there was always talk about people wanting him to, or people coming in and saying, "We want you to not call the plays," or "We want you to bring in someone as coordinator. Oh, here's what we want you to do with defensive coordinator. This is the guy we like for defensive coordinator. We'll pay you a lot of money if you give it to this guy." And at a certain point, you wonder, when does Auburn dad step in and say, "Okay, things are going weird, and I don't want any of these kids to ever regret coming to Auburn." Like, that should never happen. If you're an Auburn man or woman, you don't want any baby to ever come to Auburn and regret coming to Auburn, right? And you wonder when they're going to come and step in. But at the end of the day, Gus got 7 years of SEC salary from being at the table with those people, from working with people, from getting concessions and agreeing, like, "Okay, let's do this, we'll do this," right? Brian's he's got 1 year of SEC salary, but I don't know how many more he's going to get. Like, you don't get benefit of the doubt when you do things all your way. You don't get any benefit of the doubt. It's not going to be like, "Oh, well, it was somebody's idea to do this." You know what I mean? It's all on him. So that's what we're barreling toward. And this looks like his last. I mean, we said it before when Mason left. To me, this looks like his last chance to cry for help. If he wants to cry for help, he wants to pay somebody $1.5 million, make somebody the highest paid offensive coordinator in the country. You could do it. But it looks like his last opportunity to bring in another minder. Otherwise, it's all on him, win or lose. If he wins, all credit to him. But if he loses, all blame to him. That's where I think we're looking for in 2022. That's where I think that everything's heading right now. And it was headed that way with Davis, because Davis was a kid. Like, was he 30 years old? He wasn't going to be, a scapegoat or anything like that. But it's one more opportunity for him to cry for help, to bring in someone new, to try to, collaborate, or it's his way and the highway. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I can't help sitting here and think about the joke where the CEO comes into his office and he gets to his desk and he has a note left by his predecessor. And it's like, all right, there are these 3 envelopes in your desk. If stuff goes sideways, start opening the envelopes. He's on the job like 6 months, profits tank, they're in trouble. So he's like, he remembers the envelope. He goes, opens first envelope. It says, blame your predecessor. Okay, he does that. Everybody calms down. Everything goes good. Like 2 years go by and they hit another, just in the tank. Everything looks bad. Goes and opens that second envelope. It says, fire your staff. Just start all over. Does that. Things go good. Another 5 years. And then it's worse than it's been ever before. I mean, he can't sleep at night. He's just a wreck. He remembers that third envelope. Oh, the next morning he rushes to the office. He gets there before the secretary's there. He is just trying to get in. He unlocks his door. He goes to his desk. He opens that envelope and it says, prepare 3 envelopes. At this point, Brian Harsin has pretty much opened those first 2 envelopes. You have painted yourself into a situation where it's on you. And we know, I think the mantra of this podcast has been, you are between Alabama and Georgia right now. I said this on last week's episode, you're working on borrowed time. This isn't a revelation. This isn't something you and I just figured out. You have to have results and nothing's working and the situation looks dire. You can really help yourself if you make a good offensive coordinator hire. That first search was already, truncated or just, it just looked like it had its twists and turns. Thought, it's going to be Zach Hill, and then it's not Zach Hill. So what's the second time around going to be like? How are you going to sell somebody that this is an opportunity that you want when a 32-year-old who was going to be probably not a play caller, but an offensive coordinator for the very first time, decided after 43 days that this wasn't the right situation and he needed to resign.
Decided his coaching career has lasted so long and he's got to go spend time with the grandkids.
Yeah. 32-year-olds burn out.
Yeah.
It's bad, man. I just think this is a bad situation that and I just don't see how real it. I mean, look at it from a candidate for this job's perspective. Unless you are unemployed right now, why are you taking this job? It looks bad to me.
No, I mean, that's fair. It's a bad look. There's no way it's not a bad look. Anyone in the world could admit that it's a bad look. I think Brian would admit it's a bad look. We had the lasso of truth around him. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, you wasted time on this. You wasted time. Wasted everybody's time. So yeah, man. No, it's tough. And there's always, I always like to say it's never as good as it seems and never as bad as it seems. And I guess, you mentioned earlier, like, when's the last time Auburn got a win? It closed on signing day pretty well. Pretty good B+ signing day, it felt like, in December. So I mean, you just got to get more of that. But yeah. Well, I mean, hey man, listen, it's a tough blow. Maybe it's tough luck. Sometimes, but listen, like we say, the theme of the show, you're between a rock and a hard place, and you knew it's going to be tough breaks. Tough breaks happen here. You don't think Bruce has ever had a tough break? He's at an Under Armour school, and he's making that work. He had to start Simeon Bowers at point guard in the SEC tournament. Bad breaks are going to happen and going to keep happening. So it's another one. It's another bad break. But we'll just have to see. We'll have to see where he goes. But again, I think you see the fork in the road. I still maintain, like, hey man, maybe they bring in somebody who impresses me. But again, he has the 2 choices of where he can go this way or go that way. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, when Nick Saban innovated his offense, like, he didn't promote from within. God no. He said, let's go get Lane. Let's pay him a bunch of money. Come innovate our offense. Bring us to the 21st century, and now they run the spread as good as anybody. Nick Saban. That's because he said, help me, Lane. I need you. Come help me. So, hey man, we'll see how it goes either way. I think that's where we're barreling toward in 2022. I don't think nothing else is going to change. I think we just have to see how things play out. But yeah, I mean, I do think, as since we're doing this, since everybody's upset and it's a bad football news day and everything else, I do think things will either get better in 2023 or they will get better in 2023, if you know what I mean.
No, and there's two things I want to hit on before we get ready to wrap this up. One, my big thing is not necessarily that losing Austin Davis, because I saw a few people that were like, he comes in here and he's inexperienced. Now he leaves, and there's like, oh, quarterback wonderkin, and it's like, it's not losing Austin Davis. It's the fact that this hire happened in a mix of just a lot of turmoil around this program, and then he leaves, and that's just another blow, is what it is to me. And I think, you could salvage this if you make the right coordinator hire. Will they do that? Will they be able to? We're going to see. And then the second thing is something you mentioned earlier, and it's something to keep in mind, is like, this sucks for the kids. This sucks for the players. We were all sending each other last night, as we record this is a Monday, like Zach Calzada, Robbie Ashford, Damari Alston, Landon King tweeting stuff that we all knew was alluding to the fact that Alston was leaving. And like, for those quarterbacks, that sucks. Like Zach Calzada talked about when he signed, when he committed to Auburn. I saw where 247's Nathan King shared, a quote that Zach had about how important Alston was in him coming here. And now he's gone. He's gone. Hasn't coached a practice. Who knows how many face-to-faces he and Zach had while he was here. It's unfortunate for the players. You tweeted this last night about, now some of those guys, they're not going to have the option to, if they want to transfer, if Austin Davis was that important. And, I'm not speaking for someone saying, oh, it was, but they're not going to be able to transfer somewhere else and, participate in spring. It's just unfortunate for the players. I hate it for the players for it to have played out like this. And it just is a tough situation coming off of, again, 6 and 7 football season where things just didn't go right. And the last, month and a half of the season just kept having more and more punches to the gut. And again, how good Austin Davis would have been in this role, neither one of us know. But him leaving after never coaching a game, you can't ignore how much that hurts and how much that's another shot, again, in what's been a really tough few months for this football program.
It's going to be really hard for Auburn men and women to just sit back and watch what happens with the program, because there's nothing they can do for the next 11 months. Just sit and watch. And a lot of them welcomed that. A lot of people wanted a dictator coach. A lot of people wanted that, right? But now, like I said, it's going to be really hard for Auburn men and women. To last night to look at, young kids who worked really hard to get to the elite level that they're at, to regret coming to Auburn. Like, that's incredibly hard for an Auburn man or woman to swallow. But you're just gonna have to watch right now, because Brian Harsin does not want your input. He does not welcome your input. If you're an Auburn fan, Auburn supporter, he does not welcome it. We know that. And a lot of Auburn people wanted a dictator. You got it, right? But now Auburn just has to sit and watch for at least the next year. And then we'll see where things go after that. But it's going to be like, that's where we're at. That's where, when people have differences of opinion, that's where we're at. This is the, Auburn fans are just gonna have to watch and see what happens, which is kind of a tough pill to swallow, I would imagine, for some people. And if it's not for you, okay, fine. There are people that that's true for. So it's just for some folks, it's gonna be tough.
No doubt about it. Well, Justin, is there anything else about the situation, anything that we need to hit on? I think we hit, and covered most of it. I think the biggest thing too is now just to see what happens on Wednesday with signing day, if they're able to add guys, if the pitches that they're given are gonna, have an effect, knowing that the whole coaching staff, there's so much turnover. And, I talked about this on a radio hit this morning. Some of the main guys that we know they've been after, very much looks like are going to go elsewhere. Trevante Citizen, a guy that was committed to LSU and decommitted, I think, through the coaching change, really looks like he's going to go to LSU. That was a running back they really wanted. Caden Story, the guy that you and I know well, defensive lineman. It seems like he's going to Clemson. He's still got Auburn, and he's still got Florida in the mix, but we'll find out on Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, Jack Pyburn, an edge rusher from down in Jacksonville, seemed like it was a guy Auburn really liked and thought they were in on. And then over the weekend, he gets an offer from Florida that he called his dream offer and posted a picture of him in the swamp when he's like 4 or 5. So, they could get guys that we're not quite clear on or haven't heard quite as much about. But that seems like some of the guys they really wanted, and there's a chance they go 0 for 3 on all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, and I'm an offensive coordinator, and I mean, again, like we said, it's a bad look universally. Like, I don't care how big of a fan you are of anything, it's a bad look, and you know it. And that bad perception and means something on the recruiting trail. It absolutely does. That's what these other coaches are telling these kids. They're going to tell them, like, it's crazy over there. It's another year 0. He has all this turnover, starting all over again, new quarterback, new everything. So yeah, I mean, perception matters when you're trying to sway 18-year-old kids. I'll tell you that. So we'll see. That's the next step, and then the next step, like we said, was who gets hired, who comes in at offensive coordinator, and really, and just as telling, not just who it is, but what path he takes, because there's multiple paths that you can take. So we don't get to talk to the coaches every day, or the head coach. He doesn't have a press conference every day. But to get inside the mind of like what he wants and what he's trying to do, you just have to follow the action. I mean, action means more than talk, especially for coaches who just spit coach speak, and talk about grinding or whatever, which doesn't mean anything. But we just have to judge based on his actions. So here's another actionable decision that he's going to make coming up.
Well, you can follow all the action that goes around Auburn football at the Opelika-Auburn News. We'll be all over it with the coordinator search with signing day on Wednesday. I'm probably going to be at Caden Story's announcement since he's a local kid for us, but we'll be all over it. We're going to sign off on that. I want to thank Justin for jumping on this pretty much at the last minute because it kind of came together this morning. We're going to wrap it up with that. For Justin Lee, I'm Jordan Hill. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Make sure and share this episode. So let's get out of here. Thanks for that. And until next time, take care.